Hello, this is Paper Cuts Included coming to you live from the Ninja Turtle sleeping blanket, and that's how you know it's legit. Today is going to be a video focusing on a recent eBay package I got in the mail. So a mail away video, however you want to phrase it. But before we get into that, if you're new to the channel, this is a comic book YouTube channel inspired by the great cartoonist Kayfabe. What does that mean? Well, if you like comic books, comic book art, art in general, history of comic books, you're in the right place. Every week we look at books. They might be books we're reviewing, pickups, all manner of comic books, and really talk about the book, the artist, the impact of the book, the impact of the artist, and what it takes to be a comic book artist, as me and my co-host are all working artists. So, if that sounds like something you're interested in, subscribe, hit the notification, like, comment, and check out our videos. Like I said, we post every week, and it's a real fun time for everyone involved, I think. So, the first book we're going to look at is Brat Pack Part 2 by Rick Veitch. And if you don't know Rick Veitch or you don't know Brat Pack, definitely go check it out. I think he's a very underrated artist. I think Brat Pack is a very underrated comic book and one that will stick with you once you read it. If you don't know Rick Veitch, he got his start in the underground scene doing great comics such as Two-Fisted Zombie, then worked at DC with Alan Moore, Stephen Bissett, Toddlebin, and worked on the Amazing Swamp Thing run. Then after that, leaving Swamp Thing, went to start his own publication, King Hell Press, which was an offshoot of Tundra, and created the Brat Pack universe, or I guess it's called the Maximortal universe now, which is a very it challenges the medium. If you like books such as Watchmen that really challenge the superhero genre, Brat Pack is the book for you, specifically challenging the sidekick ideal or the commercialization of the youth in today's society. So let's get into it. And hopefully YouTube doesn't get mad at me for this very phallic looking cover. That is Dr. Blasphemy, one of my favorite characters from this book. And if you don't know how it's phallic, go talk to... never mind. But no, what a great cover. This showing off Rick Veitch's amazing black and white skills. I love a good black and white comic book. It really, stands out to me more so than colored books at times. But, this, like I said, this book follows the commercialization of the youth. In this book, the superheroes of this, which is a ripoff Justice League, have just lost all of their sidekicks in one fell swoop and need to recruit some more. And as the story goes on, we just get to see how horrible these characters are, how horrible being a sidekick is in society, and how they're really just there for profit margins. This is pre The Boys, and it does have that strive of the superheroes are here to make money, not really save the day. The world is still a horrible place, and that might be in part to them wanting it to stay horrible so they can keep making money. So this issue in particular really is we're going to meet our unfortunate kid sidekicks and see their origins and then see the aftermath of what's happening. Because not all of them have horrible lives. It's not your classic sidekick tale at times where they all are, from rough neighborhoods and then get the chance to do great. Some of these kids are the bottom page here. This girl's got a pool in her house, and this guy, I think his parents are like dignitaries or something somewhere, right? Only the top two, and really only this one has the bad life. So what's going to happen? How are they going to choose to be superheroes? Well, the superheroes are going to literally kill their parents in some way, shape, or form, right? After we were seeing all the, the goodness of these kids' lives, the bad of these kids' lives, we'll never know, really. But no, the title, or not the title, but probably one of the things I always remember, the quote, "Live fast, love hard, die with your mask on." But no, a great black and white book. We're going to flip through this a little bit quicker. This isn't a book review of it. This is just, hey, what have I bought recently? We're definitely going to have to check out Brat Pack more, but I still need I need issues 3, 4, and 5 to really do a review without having a long wait time, right? And here we start to see the heroes. The Minx, the Moon Mistress, King, and Judge Jury. Oh, the Midnight Mink, the Moon Mistress, the King, Judge Jury. Your superheroes, quote unquote, for this story, all more horrible than the last. So, that to me, that's Green Arrow. Very interesting book in the way it is, very Watchmen-y, where it takes kind of the templates of other famous heroes, like that's Batman, Wonder Woman, Green Arrow. I don't really know who I would say Judge Jury is. Maybe just a quote, or not a quote, a play on the Punisher motif, the vigilante, but I don't know. Let me know in the comments what you think Judge Jury kind of means. But no, all the heroes are getting to meet their future sidekicks, and soon after, all these poor kids, well, all these, their parents ain't long for this world in horrifying ways, unfortunately, as Dr. Blasphemy's on the TV, and that's how the book ends. Like I said, we'll get deeper into this book. This is just a quick little overview of it, real quick, for the pickup video. And look, La Tundra Publishing Limited Liability Company. Or no, it's not LLC, but I've been on a kick to get more Tundra books lately. I love Tundra. I think it's a very interesting part of the comic book history as a medium. If you don't know it, it is Kevin Eastman's company, of one of the co-creators of the Ninja Turtles. Just wanted to help artists out, so he created his own company. Funded a lot of books. A lot of them never saw the light of day, but a few did, including Brat Pack and one of the other books we're going to talk about. There again, Live Fast, Love Hard, Die with Your Mask On. I want to buy another copy of this so I can have, one side facing that, one side facing the other. The next book we're going to look at, one that we've been looking at a lot lately, that being We3, number 2, and number 3. But we're going to look at number 2 first. And maybe we'll just skip it afterwards. We don't need to look at number 3. This being a group collaboration between Grant Morrison and Frank Quitely, two of some of comics' most well-known and talented creators. Grant Morrison being the author, Frank Quitely being the artist. If you don't know Frank Quitely's work, definitely go check it out. He is an amazing artist, probably one of the best in the medium of ever time, working on books such as All-Star Superman, X-Men. Amazing art, very technical. You just got to look at it. It's hard to explain, so let's look at it. This being a very showcase of how good his art can be, right? Like this, all the motion going on, the droplets of blood. We3 is a story about cybernetic engineered animals escaping from the government, and the government trying to track them back down after the first issue. So issue 2 is a lot of chase scenes, a lot of unfortunate happens with all these rabbits, right, getting blown apart by some Apache attack helicopters following them. But no, interesting color choices. The coloring in this book's a little weird. I don't know if these are supposed to be stealth ops robots, why they have Easter colors. Like, some of these shapes are just Easter eggs to me. That's one of my few qualms with this book. It has Easter eggs. But no, we're going to be following these animals as they just start to take on this, like I said, look at all that art. I'm going to talk, and then I'm going to stop, because his art will just get you to stop talking because of how good, creative it is. His composition layout. A lot of people don't think to do this, but definitely play around with the compositions in your artwork, right? Maybe you do like split a page into 50 different little panels just to see how it works, right? A comic book is a labor of love. It's not an easy thing. It's really hard to make a comic book. I have yet to get close to finishing one. I'm always trying. I'm full of ideas. But if you know me, you know I just finished my art education degree at college. So hopefully now I have more time to work on some comics. But I'm a studier of it. I love to talk about it. And that's why we do videos like these. So again, panel. Think about it. See what you can do to make your comic book stand out over others. I bet you no other book in 2004 looked anything close to this book, right? Just stunning how that works. And it's symmetrical, right? I don't think I noticed that in my first read through. But yeah, think about how you can mess with your panels. See what works, see what doesn't. Try it 100 different ways, and you'll be on a good streak. That coloring's really good. With soldier's molar, right? Half his head's in a bucket or a helmet. You just Frank Quietly's just an artist above a caliber of a lot of different artists, right? There's some artists who you can just see and dang, that's I don't know if I'll ever be to replicate that. And Frank Quietly is one of those people for me, right? So the animals are on the way. He does really great splash pages, and here's one of these. As the cat is taking out these soldiers, just, we could almost think of this as the Matrix bullet time, kung fu slow motion like scene, right? That sound effect going as he's just, decimating this group of people with his claws. Which in the first book, they mention that these animals perceive time and motion differently. And I believe this is one of those indicators of it, right? Maybe they do see time like this, where it's not one solid stream, but split up into like segments that they have direct control over. But who knows? That's just a nerd's interpretation of it. And look at all the negative space that they utilize for it, right? Frank Quietly is really good at utilizing negative space, and I think that's a concept a lot of people are afraid of using, right? Because we're taught in art school, at least for me, if you have negative space, well, you're doing something wrong. Add. Well, sometimes being subtractive is an addition. Just remember that. I don't know. One of Frank Quietly's, I guess, staples for me as an artist is his eyes. Something about his eyes is very iconic, very, if you showed me 10 different artist eye work, I feel like I could always pick out Frank Quietly. I don't know if it's just the saucers, you know what I mean? They're just a solid saucer, and that's what makes it with the, the detail work, a little bit of flesh, the eyelashes, who knows what it could be. Oh, look, Smallville. We'll skip that. And now a Stand By Me little parody as the animals are going on this train track. We already saw the train come by. Murphy's Law. If you see a gun, that gun has to fire. If you're on a train track, you have to see the train. Don't tease your audience. There's some unwritten rules of stuff like that. So just remember that. If you draw a train track, you gotta draw the train. Oh, right as the cat and the dog get into a little scuffle, right? Real quick. Just, I don't know. Let's get to the right, and then the rats come, right? Another showstopper piece. That's why I wanted to skip that page so quick, as I knew this was the next page. Frank Quietly drawn all these cybernetic engineered mice, rats, and they look phenomenal. They do look almost Lovecraftian horror with all the tentacles, or the tails, I'm sorry, and just a swarm coming at our protagonist. Droplets of blood as our dog Bandit is literally just, ripping them apart like animals. That's something we don't get to see them do with humans. They just blow them up, shoot them with their advanced weapons, but when they're getting attacked by other animals, it's back to, instincts. Biting, clawing, ripping apart, no cybernetic stuff here. And again, the negative space composition work using the train as a very interesting way to set up these two panels. Like I said, figure out what works, figure out what compositions you want to try out. This book really inspires me to try out different compositions. And like I said, train's coming. I wish maybe we would have got a little bit more rat carnage. I guess we're already seeing their overwhelming our protagonist, so how much more could we have got? Well, I would like to see it. I'd like to see, I'm a big proprietor, or, promoter. I really want to see the We3 Artist Edition. Why don't we have that yet? Or is it in the back of one of the trades? The hardcover trade? If you know the answer to that, let me know down in the comments. And like I said, there's the train. And I didn't notice this in my first read through, but the cat and the dog are back there, right? They're having to fight off all these rats. Actually, they're right there. literally double the distance away. The rabbit, you know, the rabbit sees the train, jumps up, leaves his poor friends behind. Right? He's not even helping them. I never noticed that, but I guess that makes sense for an animal. A dog and cat are going to fight, and the quick little rabbit, he knows his best chances to run away. So here's our train. Does the rabbit drop a mine? Oh, he does drop mines. And that's why the bridge explodes. The bridge explodes, the train falls, an amazing train work. All Frank Quietly does really good at all the details doing, you know, the undercarriage. He's really good at the undercarriage. There's few artists who are good at drawing vehicles undercarriage. Frank Quietly, Jeff Darrow come to mind. Just I'll need to put the hard-boiled scene right here of all the undercarriages in the first issue. But no, great action. This book does not slow down. It is a ramp up. The first issue is a little bit slow because it is the setup. It's a 3-issue miniseries, so you do need that setup issue. But issue 2 and 3, quick. Quick. The coloring's so weird to me. All just the armor coloring. I don't know. I feel like I've been talking about this book for a little too long, so we're gonna start flipping through it quicker to get to our next book. But no, some other poor little rabbit with the blood. Like, he does blood as droplets, not like, I don't know. I feel like a lot of people make it look too liquidy, whereas Frank Quietly makes it look like molasses, almost very syrupy, thick, right? And that's something I haven't seen before. And when people do blood, there's different ways to do blood. You go the Outlaw Comics, make it all black. You do the standard, make it really drippy, like someone's a fountain. You Frank Quietly, really make it this just droplets, thick molasses look. Like I said, try your art in 100 different ways. See what works, see what doesn't. This book always inspires me to really try to think out of the box and how I can do things to even come close to Frank Quietly's ability to tell a story. And to close this out, we're going to see the book's called We3, which means weapon 3, but now we're going to see weapon 4. Oh, oops. I thought it was going to be the next. Now it's the next. Boom, a giant mastiff in just a giant armor. This thing's huge. I don't know if you can tell by the cage, right? If that's the people and they barely come up to not even his shoulders, but probably the lower part of his chest, they're going to have to fight that next issue, right? It really gets you interested. That is how you end an issue, right? You set up that great little cliffhanger for, I don't believe these came out monthly, but, great design. Other than the coloring, it's so gray, it's so brown. Put some color into it. Although, the eyes are so striking. They're just that bright, bright red, right? But no, this thing, are our heroes going to survive this? I don't know. That thing's huge, and we already know the other 3 can tear apart, military men galore, and one of them's a damn rabbit, and this thing's a mabstiff. What's going to happen? But yeah, definitely check out We3. Definitely check out Frank Quietly and Grant Morrison's other works, such as All-Star Superman, Arkham Asylum, the X-Men works they worked on together. They worked together a lot. Some of the British invasion, Frank Quietly being Scottish, and Grant Morrison, I believe, just in England. Here's We3. We're not going to look at it. That would make this video super long because I would fanboy out enough of it. But there's We3 2 and 3. We're going to start back checking these videos out next week, starting with We3 issue 2. Definitely check that out. Check out We3 number 1 that we looked at 2 Fridays ago. Really interesting book. You get to know the start of it. And the last book we're going to be looking at today, that being another Tundra book, being Michael Allred's Madman, number 3 of the first series of his work. If you don't know Michael Allred, he is another amazing artist, an artist I've come to know recently, and one I think everyone should look at. his baby, his child being Madman, very pop art inspired, has worked on other series such as The Atomics, Ecstatics, Silver Surfer, which I've heard is really good. I have not checked out yet, but do own and plan to complete so I can read. I don't like to start series or read series until I get the whole collection. But that seems like it's changing as I get older. I guess the commercialization's wearing off on me. But no, this is Madman 3 of 3 under the Tundra logo. But no, let's look at it. This is in black and white. All the other Madmans are in color, done by his wife, Laura Allred, who's an amazing colorist. They're an amazing team. Definitely check this book out. Check out more of his artwork if you really love just zany, fun adventure books. And that's what I do use to describe this. He's an amazing artist. His books are very lively, full of motion, and they're just sweet, fun adventures. If you just want a good comic book where you don't have to worry about the comedian and Silk Spectre getting it on in an inappropriate way, check out Madman. It's just fun, lighthearted fun. But no, it's black and white art. Allred also has a habit of getting some amazing cover artists to do, or not cover artists, just amazing artists in general to do his back covers. I'll post some here, including Jeff Darrow, Frank Miller, Frazetta, which I believe is the most expensive artist he ever got to do a back one. His artwork is full of emotion, full of energy, and that's something I like. A lot of artists, I believe, are really stagnant. You can't ever say that about Michael Allred's work. Michael Allred makes you want to try out different things. Throw a character in a pose. Throw a character in this pose. See what works, see what doesn't. That is the hallmark of this video. Comic books is an art form that you just gotta work with. You're not gonna try it once and it'll be perfect. It's gonna take 100 different ways to get maybe one page right. But hey, that page is going to look damn fine after 100 attempts. And I believe that's what Allred does, how lively it is, how energetic. I'm sure he has a giant sketchbook where he just sketches our main character, Madman, or Frank Einstein. Bonus points to whoever puts in the comments who he's named after. Bonus points. I don't know what a bonus point will be, but we'll figure that out. But no, I'm sure Allred has a sketchbook of his creations, like Madman, and he just plays around with it. I'm sure Allred, like me, just loves the sketch. Or else do you get all this energy, all this, just fluid motion, And that's what I really love about it. It's not a book where it's just going to be a guy talking in one page for 20 panels, having a big monologue on why climate change is man's fault and how he's going to kill us all. Thanks, Magneto. Instead, it's, this guy's fighting the mob to save his girlfriend. What's better than that? It's a great adventure. I think it really reminds me of some Eisner work. It really reminds me of, The Spirit. So, just look at it. It's a fun read. You're not going to be disappointed. They're usually cheaper too, which is always nice to find a great book for cheap. So definitely check that out. Which, as we're getting to the end of this video, hopefully you like Madman, because this isn't the end of us talking about it for the week. Friday's video is going to be us talking about issue number 1 of this series. Which, we'll talk about the art more so in depth. We'll talk about the artist, Michael Allred, more in depth. So hopefully I haven't turned you off of him, because we're going to spend probably 40 minutes on issue number 1. So hopefully you guys are into that. As we're nearing the end of this video, hopefully you found a book you liked. Hopefully you go to eBay, buy them all out, except for the ones I need, because I desperately need some more books. I love buying books. I love reading books, and I believe any good comic book artist should. Don't just never read a comic book. You have to look at other comic books to become a better comic book artist, right? When I was in art school, someone was trying to make a comic book, and for a whole semester they were trying and failing. And one of the last critiques we had, I asked them, what comic books have you looked at, in a nice way? And they were just like, I haven't looked at one. but I'm in the process of buying one. And it's like, how can you make a comic book without looking at a comic book? You know, it is a science to making it. And I think a lot of people discredit comic books, but it's intense once you get into it. Like I said, I have never been able to publish one yet. I've gone very close on some projects, but I just haven't had the time. It fizzles out somewhere or another. But hopefully summer 2025 is the summer of a Smuggler's Den logo comic book. So definitely keep up to date with us. If you made it to the end of this video, thank you. We can't do more videos like this without viewers like you. Our last video, which was, what video was it? Domo number 1, A Child's Dream, has done amazing view-wise. It is our biggest, or our most watched video since we've come back for the summer. So thanks for everyone who's watched that. Thanks to everyone who's, been watching for a while. All our subscribers, we couldn't do it without you. And I hope you guys get ready for next video. That being another pickup video looking at some amazing artists such as the great Frank Miller. I think it's a whole video just on Frank Miller. So if that sounds like something you're into, check us out Wednesday at 1 p.m. I guess I'll send you on some marching orders, and I'm out of here. Make more art.